So today we talk to Gideon Joubert from Paratus to find out what the latest is with the process that SIRA is busy with, making changes to the security industry, changes that I feel very strongly will have a massively negative impact on every single South African's safety. And the very latest, Nedlac, the National Economic Development and Labour Council, who are seemingly busy with proposed changes to the Firearms Control Act itself. And once again, I have my doubts about what they are busy doing with. So stick around to find out more. Good morning, Rian Kutsia, Fortis Proactive Defense Solutions. And today we are talking to Gideon Joubert, Paratus. A lot of people in the firearms industry know about Gideon and know him personally for his absolute wealth of knowledge and interesting tidbits. Gideon, it's always great to talk to you. Welcome.
Thank you, Rian. It's always good to speak to you and speak to the Fortis audience. And thank you for the very, very excessive compliment you gave me there. But I'm going to take it, and I appreciate it. Bye, Don.
Take it. It's well made. The first thing I wanted to do is just catch up on, because we did a video previously when this was now just hot off the press, the fact that SIRA, the governing body for the security industry, were busy with changes to the security industry, and these are changes that you and I both agree on would probably have a disastrous effect on the security industry and as a result for every law-abiding citizen. Where do we stand with that now? What's happened in the meantime?
It's a very quick update because nothing actually has happened. In fact, I think the latest thing, and this is on Ian Cameron's social media profiles, there was supposed to be some form of action from SIRA regarding the allegations against their and the implications, the criminal implications against, I think it was their CFO, perhaps also their CFO, but even let's just call it their C-suite of executives. There was supposed to be meaningful action and feedback regarding steps taken there to the Parliamentary Portfolio Committee, and that hasn't happened. In fact, they haven't communicated with Parliament since Parliament recommended they suspend their CEO and I think the CFO as well in light of the allegations that came out. So the interesting thing about this is, right, and I said it as much yesterday, SIRA, if you are a registered security officer, if you're a registered security company, you better pay your SIRA fees because they will moor you with fines and repercussions up the yazoo should you fail to pay those fees or miss them. However, considering that the implications are now that the CEO and a couple of his cronies and other management level executives at the regulator may have been caught with their hands in the cookie jar. I say allegedly because up until such time as it's actually proven, it's still an allegation. But let's be brutally honest. We live in a country of criminal implication. That just means that everything we see is completely fake and all of these people are completely innocent, right? It's just coincidental that so much money just disappears. However, that put aside, the fact that the CEO and a bunch of other people may have been caught with their hands in the cookie jar means that as happy as SIRA is to take your money, of course they're very happy to take your money, they're not so happy about telling you what they're actually doing with it. And that's not a unique thing in the South African regulatory sphere at all. It's just, it comes now hot on the heels, obviously, of them trying to implement these disastrous regulatory amendments that got immense amount of pushback. And this is the other thing. Allegedly, no, not allegedly, actually, this is confirmed. They were surprised at the public outcry against it. I'm like, guys, when you tried similar stuff with the proposed FCA amendments in 2021, you got such an overwhelming public outcry. You even had 702 DJs. And let's be honest, that's not exactly a talk radio show that's politically aligned with the average gun owner's more conservative views, okay? It's very, not center-left, very left-wing progressive. And even they were of the opinion that this was not just a bridge too far, it was a travesty. So if you got that much pushback 4 years ago, and you're trying now to take people's armed response away from them, what pushback were you expecting? Did you think people were just going to go, okay, this is fine? So either they're incredibly out of touch, or they are so stupid, and I use the word deliberately, they're so stupid that they don't even understand the implications of the regulations they themselves are writing, which is entirely possible. Or they're malicious liars that just pretend like this is a big surprise to them. You know, pick one of those three, all three.
Yeah.
I'll leave it up to them.
And that they know exactly what they're doing, and they are, there's an agenda behind it. It's obviously something that gets speculated about all the time, but you have to prove it as well. Therefore, it remains speculation. Gideon, while we're at it, you mentioned Ian Cameron, and that's a very interesting topic that's floating about at the moment, because Ian had this incident where they were attacked with bricks and they all got injured, and he then used his firearm to defend themselves successfully. And now there seems to be a deliberate drive to discredit his actions in this. And we know that no court in this country is gonna look at it and find his actions questionable in any which way, because I think everything is above board. What are your opinion on that?
Sorry, I don't know why my video just cut off there. It just did that by itself.
So having spoken my question.
Yeah, no, I did. So having spoken to the man himself very recently about this exact thing, he's actually getting the people driving the so-called discreditation or discrediting agenda or launching this personal attack campaign on him. It's actually a very narrow group of people. The overwhelming majority of individuals he's dealt with, including more of the progressive left-wing journalists, have all expressed support for him in the wake of what has happened. So there's a very small cabal of useful idiots. I wonder if there's any reason why so many of them seem to wear Daily Maverick colors, right? Farrell, Huffagy, and co. And Brett Heron from the Good Party, as I call them, the pro-crime party, or the for-crime party. They call themselves the for-good party. They're actually the for-crime party. Now, bearing in mind, Brett is loud. He regularly makes himself guilty of saying the dumbest, stupidest, most inflammatory things imaginable. Now, I'm someone that also likes doing that, although I'd say my inflammatory things are considered more intelligent than the inflammatory things he says. That's just because I have a high opinion of myself. But Brett is a chronic offender in this regard. And he wrote some horrific press release that you can find on Politics Web if you want to poison your mind reading it, about how in shooting the unarmed black youth, okay, which is not what it was at all, means he's reminiscing for apartheid. And that's the summary version of this press release, okay? So it's horrendously brain dead. Now, a lot of people go on about Brett. I think he's a moron, and I've told him so on numerous occasions. And in fact, I quite enjoy telling him so, because as someone who's a lawyer, he also doesn't understand Latin, which explains to me why he went into politics, because I don't think you're going to get very far as a lawyer if you don't understand Latin. But Brett's party has one seat in the National Assembly out of 400 seats, okay? They wanted, the latest political rumor is that Good and Musi Maimani's Bosa and Rise Mzansi wanted to club together, right?
Oh, I saw that.
Remember Captain Planet? They said, by our powers combined, I'm Captain Planet. It's like those three, by their powers combined, they're Captain not even 3%. Okay, so they are not a significant political player, but they are a useful mouthpiece for these types of radical, extreme left-wing views, which gun control obviously is part of. So the fact that they have a beef with the DA and Ian Cameron, of course, it's very convenient. So you're going to see the same faces, the same names, trying to discredit an extremely legitimate defensive shooting, which I might add, no one died in. So there are at this point, there are no charges. There are no signs that anyone is going to be charged, except the perpetrators that were actually caught, thanks to Ian's quick thinking and insisting that the cops go on a hunt for them, and he helped them get good information quickly, and that's what resulted in 2 very swift arrests on the same day. So not only did he stop the attack on 3 people just doing their jobs, he also took 2 criminals off the streets in short order, who are now in custody. Just to answer another question, people say, well, okay, why didn't he go with the close protection detail, and why this, why that? The fact is that the 3 of them were doing an unannounced parliamentary oversight visit, a surprise visit to the SAPS training college in Philippi, which has been plagued by huge issues of corruption and mismanagement. So obviously announcing ahead of time that you're going to go there and visit these people is very contrary to the outcome that you want to achieve with a surprise visit. That's first and foremost. And the second thing with regards to close protection details is, as a member of parliament, yeah, you can get them, but there are going to be policemen under special circumstances, and they're not going to really help you do these. Having a SAPS close protection details probably not going to be all that useful if you're doing unannounced visits. And secondly, private close protection is something that his party would have to pay for him for. And whether or not the DA is going to pay for him for a CP detail or not, that's something they're going to have to discuss amongst themselves. I don't have an answer.
Exactly. Yeah, that's the thing for me. The big thing about the whole case, I mean, I hear about Brett Herron. To me, that's just the standard sort of politicking that one can expect, specifically from these little splinter parties who need to, they need to find something that they can latch onto to make a noise about, to make them feel and seem a little bit more relevant than they truly are. So that's just, I mean, I've read what he said, and to me, that's just he's playing politics. It's kind of expected, you know. It's a pain, but it's expected. But to me, the big thing about the specific shooting and incident is that it should silence many voices out there who continue to maintain the point of view that criminals always have more rights than we do. You know, you've used your firearm in a defensive situation, and so therefore you are going to end up in jail. And the fact of the matter is that you know, you need to know what the Firearms Control Act says and what your rights are under the Constitution.
And the Criminal Procedures Act, especially which one is it? Is it Section 39 or 49? I can't remember.
Something like that.
The bit that deals with
defensive actions,
as well as the thing is, and this is the thing that confuses people a lot. We don't actually have a section of law that deals with lethal force in private defense. It's all common law, meaning it's this body of case law over time that has been compiled and turned into I'm a lay person, so please don't come at me in Riyadh's comment sections about how little I understand of legal principle, because I'm definitely not a lawyer or a legal practitioner. I certainly will never pretend to be one, but I can read. As far as I understand it, this long-running sequence of legal principles is what constitutes our understanding of the boundaries of private defense today. And that makes it complicated, because getting there's nowhere in the law that you're going to get a black and white answer of what the law allows. Yes. But you also have to read that with understanding that which the law does not explicitly prohibit, it generally allows you to do. So there are good summaries of what lethal force justification is. And there's also needs to be an understanding that whether an assailant is armed or not is actually irrelevant. What's the only thing that is relevant is, are they legitimately or from a reasonable perspective presenting a credible, life-threatening threat to your person or another innocent person at that point in time, yes or no? And is using lethal force against them justified in stopping that attack, yes or no? And that's why everything is context specific and case specific, and you can't take one outcome of one case and just copy and paste it onto another. And I think that's what frustrates people, because they think that's how it should work. Yes. Fortunately, it doesn't.
Exactly. I just think more firearm owners need to do the reasonable thing and ensure that they update their own knowledge about these things so that they have less insecurities in their minds about this. And
It
I'm
is actually
hoping and
vitally
trusting.
important, Rian. I'm going to interrupt you and say it's
Yeah,
as
sure.
important as getting proficiently trained with your defensive tools. For the simple
Absolutely.
reason, if you don't have confidence in what your allowed actions are and understand the legal space, that is psychologically going to hold you back from saving your own life or someone else, because it's going to breed into you an extreme hesitancy that might come into play at the worst possible moment in your life and hold you back at a point where you might then die. So you need
That's the problem.
You need to understand these things. You need to acquaint yourself with these principles, and it takes time. It's going to take a bit of effort, but understanding your legal position and when you're allowed to shoot and when you are not, and having a firm grasp on that is as important as everything else. You have to do it.
I just think if you want to be a law-abiding, responsible firearm owner, not just in this country, anywhere, you need to understand these things. You don't have to understand them like a lawyer does, but you need to understand what your rights are and what's out there for you and what you can and cannot do. And and then obviously you need to do training. That's the other important part. So I'm hoping and trusting. I'm extremely happy that Jan and his colleagues walked away from this, even though they had injuries. I am sad about the additional stress that it places on all of them and their families, because it obviously does. But I'm hoping and trusting that this case, being a high-profile case, will help to hammer these points home to more people at the end of the day. So hopefully something good in that respect can come of it. We shall see.
I definitely think it can, but I think also that's where we all, as firearm owners, have a job in order to support Ian as he's going through this, to amplify the message, right? And to keep talking about it in a rational way, because this is the proof in the pudding. Here you have the chairman of the Parliamentary Portfolio Committee on Police, and two colleagues who are also members of Parliament, members of the National Legislature, being ambushed after doing an oversight visit at a police training facility not far away from this training facility. And the only thing that saved their lives was the fact that the chairman of the Police Portfolio Committee was armed and could shoot one of the perpetrators to stop the attack. That is poetic, in the sense that it is such an illustration of armed self-defense is not exclusive to someone with police or security training or military training. It is ordinary members of the public, and it's from the lowest economic tier, right, has the same capacity, abilities, and rights to members of parliament. And, even the president, although we know the president is surrounded by basically a group of special forces soldiers that protect them 24/7. So he's probably unlikely to do that. And that's not the only reason. We won't get caught up in that now. Yeah.
Let's move on now to what's currently ongoing with Nedlac, the National Economic Development and Labour Council. I'm still battling to understand exactly how they fit into this equation, but they are busy with changes to the Firearms Control Act, which they are seemingly not sharing with anybody until they feel the time is fit. From what I understood, they said they will release it when they give it in his capacity as the chairman of the police committee or portfolio. What do you know about this? Does anybody have any real idea what's going on here?
No, I don't think anyone does. And there's diverging opinion as to what mandate Nedlac actually even has to do this sort of thing. On the one hand, nothing in Nedlac's mandate gives it the right or privilege to get itself involved in firearms control matters. Historically, though, with regards to previous amendments, it was actually involved. So there are conflicting views on the legitimacy and locus standi of Nedlac in the first place, but then secondly, they have also been involved in it previously. The other thing is also, because let's be honest, regulations and amendments to the Firearms Control Act and all sorts of stuff, that falls under the police ministry. That is an issue with regards to policing and criminal justice. It's got, Nedlac doesn't fall in that portfolio. The drafting of previous amendments were done by the police. Then it got moved over to the Civilian Secretariat. And now it looks almost like drafting is being done within Nedlac itself. So this will be an interesting one to test, once it actually comes out, to see, okay, what's the legitimacy of this amendment being presented to Parliament? Who's the originator and who's sponsoring it, right? That's something that'll be established. It's also one of those cases where do you interrupt people while they're busy making a mistake? Because the chances of them writing an amendment bill that is woeful in every possible way and just simply not passable because how woeful it is better. And I shouldn't be saying the quiet part out loud, but the moment that you lack expertise in this sort of stuff and you write the biggest load of fairy tale nonsense, it's easier to have it dismissed. So the formal version is never interrupt your enemy while they're busy making a mistake. Senator Ted Kennedy said, never interfere with your opponent while he's busy kicking his own ass. So pick which one of those two you want to like. But the fact is we do have to sit awake. We do have to pay attention to this. I know that Ian Cameron has already taken a dim view of the Nedlac issue. He mentioned something in the Natal Mercury about also being in the dark about it. I think everyone's in the dark except Nedlac, who's basically them and their cronies at Business Unity SA, which is essentially corporate SA's BE cult. So yeah, that's the sort of element you're dealing with here. And I just think
I know Martin Hood approached them with a formal letter to request insights, I suppose, and they basically flipped him off.
Which is also good, right? Rebuffing the people you're supposed to be engaging as opposed to embracing them under false pretenses. It's exactly the outcome we want.
That just means they're gonna come at you harder when we know what's going on.
I know there was an attempt by several firearms organizations to, in good faith, become part of the process. I think it was necessary to try and do that. I personally disagree with legitimizing the process, but ultimately, if you keep yourself willfully aside, it also means that you've been unwilling to engage. So it puts you in a difficult position. The best thing that then can happen, in my opinion, and feel free to disagree with me, is to try and engage in good faith and get rebuffed. Because that means you did reach out to try and be part of the process as one of the key and most important stakeholders as a community, and you get your hand slapped away. That's a good thing. What's important, though, the message I want to send people, because I get a lot of panicky messages about this stuff every day, is firstly, stop panicking, everybody. Please, for the love of God, stop panicking and keep calm. But take that energy and put it into a reserve, because we're going to need all hands on deck, as we needed in 2021, to kill these things again should it pop its head out. We can do it. We know we can do it. We reserve many options of how to do it, but the overwhelming rejection by the general public is important. So while you're busy with this, save your energy, stay disciplined, do what you need to do, and try and get more people into guns. I have 5 of my neighbors in the southern suburbs of Cape Town that want to go shooting with me this month. People who previously had no interest in guns. They want to know how the stuff works, right? And that's ultimately where you make big wins, is start with your neighbors. Start with them slowly and use this time, okay? Because ultimately, those are 5 additional voices against this nonsense.
That works for me. I like that. I like that a lot. And we do get on the loan operator courses, we regularly get people who are new into the whole firearms thing, attending courses. And
I'll do an endorsement for loan operator, by the way, since it's arriving in Cape Town, and it's got some. I'm not 100% sure at which range it is, so I don't want to get it wrong, but
Yeah, it's. I'm speaking under correction now. I'll have to check with Dion. It's not. It's not False Bay. It's another range.
Is
I
it
think.
Somerset West?
I think it's Somerset West. I'm speaking under correction.
Well, if it is Somerset West, I am at Somerset West. I run a sport shooting discipline there, so I can just say, do learn operator. If you don't know where to start with the stuff and you want good quality training and a stable, well thought through curriculum to get you from A to B to Z,
yes,
just go do learn operator.
Yeah, well, just for the viewers and the listeners, as this conversation will also go on the Quick Shots podcast on Spotify, which is basically a week old now, something that I'm very excited about. As for the prospects, you know, it's a completely new platform, so I've got high hopes. So for the viewers and the listeners, you can do, if you're interested in Loan Operator, as always, there will be a link in the description below. Click on that, go check it out, and hopefully we will see you on a range one of these days. And what you can also do is you can talk to Aziza from CHS Guns. She's the coordinator down there, and she will also be able to point you in the right direction and to give you more info and so on. So please do that. And then, as always, Gideon, I will be displaying the Paratus website info on the screen for the duration of the video for anybody who wishes to go and check it out and contact you, ask you questions. There are, I mean, that website of yours is a hive of amazing info, and it's all related to firearms and safety and everything. So it's an amazing read, and it's well worth your while to go and do that. I will also include a link in the description below. And then, as always, you know how it works. Click that like button, go and subscribe to the channel to help us grow it, and smash that bell icon so that you can get notifications of all our new videos. That's it from me. Gideon, thank you so much for spending some time with me. As always, great having a chat with you. I hope you have an awesome kick-ass day down there.
Thank you, Rian. I hope you and the listeners and viewers as well have similar, wherever you may be. Have a kick-ass day, and we will definitely talk soon.